spent the last of my money on climbing gear and wool clothes. I paid my roommate my last month's rent, and one night, it was a dark, rainy, cold night, I met up with some tree sitters, and we hiked out into the woods, and just one thing led to another, and I just kind of got used to it, and like after I'd been out there for a few months, I really started to enjoy living in a tree. Because when it started, it wasn't a nice, pleasurable thing. It was a really hard thing to do. But after I got used to it, I really started to enjoy living in a tree. And then as more time went on, after about a year passed, some circumstances happened to where I was the only one left out in the woods. So at that point, I basically felt responsible for the trees. So I stayed out my last year alone in the woods by myself up in a tree.
Wow, that there's.
And I can't, I'm sorry, like I can't really tell you how I did it. I mean, all I can say is that before I went out and stayed in a tree, I did not have it in me to do it. I was not the type of person that could do that, but I was called to do it, and I obeyed that calling, and everything just fell into place, and I adapted to it and just did it. I mean, it's like I really think that you could just do anything. Like if you're called to do something and you go out and do it and you just stick with it, like you'll adapt to anything and be able to just amaze yourself with what you can do. Yeah.
Well, Joseph, that's absolutely incredible. I didn't know that the Lord would actually call somebody up in a tree, and that just breaks a lot of paradigms right there, because most time it seems that God calls people to do normal stuff, pretty much like say God calls you to go to McDonald's, or He calls you to give money to a church building project. I mean, he seems to do, He calls you to sing along with everybody else in rhythm, and if you don't, God doesn't want you to sing. And then all of a sudden you're saying that God told you to go up in a tree, and that just breaks so many paradigms right there. Let me ask you, how did you I guess you had money, so your goods and services that you needed, you would come down and go back up every day, or how'd that work?
Well, how it worked is, like when I first got involved, we had a whole group of people that lived out there. We called, we lived in these tree villages. Like we actually have established villages up in the trees, and I'll explain it more in more detail later. So when I first went out, we had a whole group of people, of activists, that were all working to protect three. Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
Were you going to say something?
No, go ahead. I'm just listening.
Okay, so when I first went out there, we had a whole group of people protecting this one area of forest. So when we needed food or water, we would send a couple people into town to get food and water. And when we needed funds for climbing rope, for climbing stuff, we would need to have a cell phone out there and a pager for certain reasons, because if the logging company came out and tried to raid our village, we would need to call for help. So we needed finances, and how we would get those finances is we would go into town and we would set up information tables at the local co-ops around town, and we would basically set out pictures and information and show people hey, we're tree sitters, we're out there protecting these redwoods that you all say you love so much, and people would just give us money. We would make hundreds and hundreds of dollars a day that people would just give us, and all of the money that we would make would go strictly towards climbing gear, like climbing ropes, harnesses, to pay the things that we needed. Now, food, if we needed food, that would come from food banks. People would donate us food. Because anything we needed would come to us. It was really amazing. We were never in want of anything out there.
Okay, when you said when you said tree village, it kind of reminded me of the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, where they were talking about a gopher village. But then you said that your village could be raided. Who by the loggers or who? Who'd raid your village in the trees?
Okay, well, by raiding, what I mean is, now, when I say what was that? I'm sorry, I'm just getting a lot of static, so sometimes it sounds like you're asking a question about. But by when I say a tree village, I mean that we would have we'd have living situations in multiple trees in this small area of trees that we were protecting. And we would establish traverse lines in between these trees. Like we would set up climbing ropes to go from tree to tree, so we could have multiple living situations in a tree and have a different person living in a different tree. You know, and we might have like 30, 40 trees all connected into each other with these ropes up in the trees.
Yeah.
So that's basically what a tree village is. Now, what a raid is that the logging company will send loggers out there, and they can't really do anything to cut the trees down because we're in the trees.
Right.
And, like, for one thing, it's dangerous to them because they can't cut a tree down. Well, for one thing, with us in it, they would be killing us, and they can't do that. But another thing is that they can't cut a tree down when there's a line up in the tree that's connected to another tree. I mean, that could be really dangerous for them. And we, in fact, put, like, warning signs on the ground that say, hey, these trees are tied into each other. Don't log these trees because, like, you need to have people come up into these trees and cut the lines down first.
Right.
So what the logging company does is to get us out of the trees, it's known as a raid, they paid trained arborists to climb up into the trees and try to get us down out of the trees. Now, an arborist it's a person that will climb up into a tree and like they might climb up into a tree to like cut some branches down that aren't safe.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a city, like if they want to fell a tree in the city, you know, they can't just cut it down and let it fall to the ground. So they'll pay an arborist to climb up to the top of the tree and like cut the tree down from the top piece by piece.
Right.
So that's what an arborist basically does. But the logging company basically pays these arborists hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, like literally like $200,000 just to come out and spend the day trying to get us out of the trees. So what they do is these arborists, which have no legal authority to come up and put their hands on us at all. I mean, they're not cops or anything like that. They climb up into these trees, and if they can get their hands on us, they'll hog tie our hands behind our backs and lower us down to the ground with ropes, and they'll have sheriffs on at the base of the trees to drag us to cop cars and take us to jail, basically.
Yeah.
So, but we have ways of getting around that. We have ways to defend ourselves and defend the trees in that situation.
Yeah.
What we do, if climbers come out, like if they plan a raid and they come out and try to raid our village, which is what they did in the village that I stayed in. They came out one morning and raided us.
Yeah.
What we do is, you know, I told you we have those traverse lines that we attach from tree to tree.
Right.
Well, if we want to go from tree to tree, we attach a traverse line like 80, 100 feet off the ground. If we want to defend a tree, if a climber comes out and we want to make it so that they can't get us out of the trees, what we do is we set a traverse line dangerously high in the tree, like right up in the very tip top of the tree, like literally like less than 3 or 4 feet from the top of the tree. And then what we do is when the climbers come out, we traverse out into the middle of those lines, and we take a bucket of food with us, we take a couple gallons of water, we take our climb lines out with us, which we need to get down out of the trees.
Yeah.
And we get in the middle of these lines, and we'll set up a hammock in the line and get into the hammock so that we're all comfortable. And the best thing we do is we get a video camera, and we get in the middle of these lines, and we turn the video camera on, and we're recording everything that's going on. So, and what we're basically doing is we're saying on recording, like, hey, you have no right to come up here and try to get me out of this tree. Like, I